A very good afternoon, Friday the 15th of April, and welcome to Diamondpigs TV. And hello, Idan, how are you doing?
Hello, Vincent. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm alive and kicking. We have a lot of news in these coming weeks, and for me, the way I want to go after my big topic today is like, how is it possible that we have so much positive news about crypto and that it still goes up and down and up and down and up and down? There's no clear direction. So we're going to take a look at that. And we have all kinds of news from negative to very positive, and we're going to share that with you. But of course, we want to do as much as possible, answer all your questions. So be our guest and answer our answer. We like to answer our question. We see already a question here. We're going to get how can you get passive income? We're going to answer that question a little bit later. But first, we're going to go after the news because there's a hell of a lot of interesting news today. So the market analysis. I'm going to talk about that first. Okay. If we look at the greed and the fear and greed index over time, here we see it in the last couple of months. And we see that since last week, the fear index went up. Well, it actually went down. The more we go down, the more fear there is. And at the moment, it is like, what is it? 28. What is a good place to start investing again? When is it good to buy the dip? At what fear factor is that, Idam?
Yeah, a lot of traders, if you look at the data from the last couple of years, a lot of traders, they indicate that 20 is where a lot of traders are stepping in and investing. So when everyone is fearing, the weekends are leaving the market, then the professional traders are stepping in and buying low.
Okay, yeah. So I've been saying a bunch of times since January that this has been a great time to step in, but every time it goes up, it goes down. It's really difficult to predict when it's happening. But okay, but the fear is getting bigger now, and why is that? And one of the things is actually the inflation, the hyperinflation. I was really amazed when I looked at Germany, that the wholesale inflation, so not the retail inflation, that's behind, but that went up 22% in a year. So that's pretty amazing. 22%, the prices were 22% higher than a year ago, and 16% was last month. So the inflation is still going up, and it's still because of course the war between Russia and Ukraine and all the follow-up implications, all the supply chain disruptions has given. Have you seen more news in that inflation part, Idam?
Yeah, there's a lot of inflation news in the US, right? Earlier this week, the Fed came with inflation rate of 8.5%.
Yeah.
Listen, I have a little bit of echo. Is that something that you can fix for me?
Yeah, I can fix that. Okay.
Thank you. So they came up with 8.5%. In fact, what they say in the US that the war and the consequences of what we see in the war is still not in the price. So it's going to go up. The monetary policy of the Fed since 2 years, that's the reason why we are seeing now very high inflation rate. And what we'll see in the war will come later. It's actually a very little impact still on March figures, and that's scary because it's gonna go much higher apparently.
Yeah, but if you see the cost of mineral oil products up 70% compared to years ago, solid fuels 61%, metal 55%. Oil has now come down a little bit until before the Ukraine war, but I mean that was not even in these numbers. So
It started before, huh? The commodity increase in prices start before the war. It only had accelerated because of the war, but we saw the trend before.
Yeah. Also, what's happening in China? Omicron has reached China, and that means in Shanghai, where 26 million people are living. It's really amazing how much people are living there, and that the whole city is in lockdown. And that's not the only city. There's 23 cities, and let me see. I think I can show you this. I don't know if you can hear. Wait 1 second. This was a movie. Can you describe this movie while I pick it up?
Yeah. So there's a demonstration. In China you cannot really demonstrate, definitely not when you're in lockdown. So what people are doing, they're very, very angry and frustrated in Shanghai, and so they decided to go out to the windows and start screaming, and they call it the screaming demonstration, and that's pretty interesting.
所有人都在叫。
So streets are empty, completely empty. It's evening, and people are all going out to the in the windows and start screaming because they're really, really mad at what's happening. I thought it was pretty interesting to see.
That's pretty scary to see. It's pretty miserable to see. And I mean,
Shanghai,
I know that.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that. I've talked to people there, and the Tesla factory is closed. There's lots of problems in the harbor. It's not closed, but a lot of people don't show up because of the lockdown, and that means that we have supply chain problems. 6 weeks from now, so a huge amount of manufacturing doesn't leave China. So we have lots of supply chain problems. That's not good for the inflation. So and there's 23 cities like that which are in partial or whole lockdown. A total amount of 250 million people are now in lockdown, and people are really not pleased with it, and we shouldn't be pleased with it either. I mean, it's going to be a big problem for us. Big problem for us too. So that is it. So then if you look at the correlate, I'm always interested in correlation. What can predict the the price of Bitcoin and crypto? And this is the correlation with the Nasdaq. And what's happened with that, Idan?
Yeah, so we see slowly more and more institutionals in the US that are investing in Bitcoin, and since that more and more are stepping in and investing in crypto, and particularly in Bitcoin and Ether, you see a much bigger correlation with Nasdaq, and that's not where the Bitcoin scene wants to be, because the Bitcoin ecosystem see themselves as a store of value, like a digital gold, and definitely not correlated to the tech stock. But that's the case right now, and we need to consider that. Whether that will be continuous, the trend, I don't know. Some people indicates that at some stage this correlation will disappear, and people, when if we continues with the hyperinflation and the Fed goes up with the rates, then more and more people will take out their money from the equity markets, and some of them, and from the bonds, and some of them will start investing in Bitcoin. So we'll see whether that happens. Well, right now there is a very high correlation with Bitcoin, which is something to take into consideration where we're trading.
Yeah, we've seen it here in the past. So in the past year, there was a high correlation, but that was about 30%, and now it's at about 60%. So this is it's really the news of the normal world which is influencing. It's not Bitcoin news, it's not crypto news, it's not on. Okay, I mean, actually, we'll share with you some news later, but there's lots of positive news around crypto scene. But the real world is dominating at the moment. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Maybe you can share some of the graphs with us, Idan, and see how we're doing. Yeah. How we're doing with the Bitcoin prices and the dominance, and also some other change.
Yeah. So first, let's look at the Bitcoin chart, as we always look at. I mean, we see, it's pretty interesting. From January, where actually the price goes ups and down in sideways. There's a little bit uptrend, a line that we'll see continuously. Price has been sustaining now the 40K. It went down from 48 since 2 weeks ago. And because of the inflation figures, mainly it went down as to 39. It sustained now the 40K. That's a good news. So it may go up a little bit, but we need to see if it's going down below those numbers. The 37K, it can go down much lower. So let's hope it's sustained. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to trade when it goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. That's really the most difficult trading mechanisms.
So if you are long-term investors, you don't need to care, because if you're bullish on crypto, at some stage you will see that this will go up, and that's what we saw in the last couple of years. If you're swing trading, you can do nice trading on that, but particularly if you're a retailer and you are afraid that it will go down and up, this is pretty difficult to trade. And for that you need algorithm, of course. But one other thing that we look at, the Bitcoin dominance goes a little bit down from 42 to 41, not substantially. So we also see that the alts are following suit for what Bitcoin is doing. Another thing good to see, the Nasdaq goes down. Nasdaq is in a downtrend since the end of March. And as we saw correlation, so it's good also to look at the Nasdaq right now. US bonds, that's an indication for the inflation. People are fearing inflation, and they are also leaving the bonds. And what you see that the bonds, the yield bonds on all-time high in the US, 2.8%, more than 2.8, 27. That means that more and more people are getting rid of their bonds. And what the US Federal Reserve did until now, they kept on buying bonds, and now they actually said we will stop buying bonds, and in fact we will start selling our bonds. And so people are flooding that. So people are leaving the bonds market. People are also leaving the equity market. That gives some hope for the crypto market, that's more money is available to invest in a crypto. So let's see. And the last thing I want to show and indicate is the commodity index. And as long as that goes up, I think we can definitely confirm that the war goes on. And when we'll see that the commodity index will start going down, we'll see that the war ends. So the war is not ending. There was some hope that the war is ending, and then the commodity index went down. But again, it's not over yet. It's definitely not over yet. And the index started to go up again.
And the index went from 16 to 24, 25, so about 50%, it went up 50%. But we saw in Germany that year on year, this is since December. Since December, it went up 50%, the index. But since last year, it went up more like 70%. So it's really...
exactly. But you see that the trend started in the beginning of December and, of course, accelerated on the day the war started. And it continues, in fact. And that fuels the inflation. So we're expecting a hyperinflation in the US and also in Europe. I was talking about 8.5% initially, but I saw another chart yesterday that included the energy prices and the fooding prices, and it's already talking about 25%. So 8.4% or 8.4 or 8.5% is not the real inflation data. We're really in a hyperinflation, and the Fed needs to do some stuff. So they will increase the interest rate in 0.5 in 50 in the next meeting, and afterwards again in 0.50, and maybe they will end up in 2 or even more percent on a year base. And when that stops, and we know now they stop, then we may see a more bullish trend. And
I think it's really. Yeah. I think it's really interesting to see. I mean, where do people put their money? I mean, real estate. The Nasdaq is down, so it's not stocks. It's real estate is down. then if you see here, this is the amount of money flowing out of the crypto market. So Bitcoin is the biggest amount, but Ethereum is number 2. And some others have also some positive things. So $134 million went out of the market. And where are they going with their money?
Yeah, so first of all,
bonds?
No, they don't go bonds because they're afraid that the bonds will go even higher because the Fed will leave bonds as well and we start selling out bonds. So no, I think we see a slight increase in upward trends in gold and silver. People are keeping cash right now because some people also need to pay more debt. In the US, it's the time of paying tax. Since for the year of 2021, which was great year for equity of crypto. So people need to pay a lot of taxes. We see some people selling out in order to pay the taxes. What I found interesting to see on these metrics is that Solana is actually doing well. And we get a lot of indication that a lot of institutes are believing in Solana and now stepping in as well. Solana was at a very high price decrease, and a lot of more institutions are getting into Solana and also to Cardano. So those two are interesting to watch. And yeah, a lot of people are fleeing Ethereum and Bitcoin. So
yeah, but where are they going? Because lots of money is leaving thing, and you cannot leave it in cash. You can put it on the bank just without interest. But the interest rate is nothing, and the inflation is very high. So people must be quite desperate to do something with it. And if they see anything, then they will they will put it in there. Okay, let's. This was a little bit the negative news. Let's slowly move to a positive news, but this is not very clear if they're positive or negative. But I thought it was interesting that our friend Elon Musk is buying Twitter. And so he says, okay, I'll pay 40 billion for Twitter, 40 billion for Twitter. And what happened? He offered 54 and the price went down. It's really interesting. But why is it interesting that Elon Musk buys Twitter? Because, Twitter, we've tried it ourselves to put advertising in. Of course, diamondpigs, we want to always have clients. You're always welcome to come to us and basically have buy the strategies and have smart strategies in your own wallet. And a lot of times advertisements gets refused by Twitter or Facebook. And if Elon Musk buys it, then I think there will be a more liberal attitude at Twitter. And still, I think Twitter is still an extremely important medium. And I think if he buys it and he will change it, it will grow quite a bit. But he wants to take it off the market. So I thought that was an interesting little thing. Then another positive thing came from you. Bitcoin institutional buying could be the big narrative again. That was last year, right? But what happens here?
It just came up 2 hours ago. So we see an outflow of 30K Bitcoin leaving Coinbase in the last couple of hours. And that's interesting. Okay. So a big whale is stepping in and bought a lot of Bitcoin. This is a trend that we could see in March as well, and it continues in April. And I think that it will accelerate after the Bitcoin Miami 222. We saw it last year as well. There have been a lot of institutionals and VCs that joined the conference for the first time, and I'm sure they are convinced that they need to start investing in Bitcoin. So that's good. That's good. And I think, Vincent, if you go to the next slide, then you see what's the impact of those kind of actions. So when there is an outflow, the red one indicates outflow of money from exchanges to hardware wallets. That means that people have invested and they are intending to keep Bitcoin for a longer period. And then we see that every time there have been a couple of 4 events in the past, and every time there was a big outflow of Bitcoin out of exchanges, we see a huge price increase, price spike. So I don't know if that's going to be the case right now, but definitely the trend shows us that in this kind of situation, the price will start picking up very soon.
So if it leaves the exchanges and it goes to hard wallets, to cold storage, then that means that people are there for the long term, and then the course tends to go like here it tends to go up, and here it tends to go up, and here it went up, and here it went down. Okay,
Yeah, but
interesting, interesting thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so wells are bullish, and after the wells are bullish, then you see that the market slowly and surely believes in it, and retailers join,
Yeah.
etc., etc. Let's see if that's the case. We're in a difficult macroeconomic position right now, so I don't know if that's going to be the case, but we have a lot of good bullish signs and positive news in the crypto space, and a little bit less in the macroeconomics and geopolitics space.
No, a little, very, very, very little.
Yeah,
actually, very, very little. So that's basically what we think. Okay, yeah. So let's go to the next one, and there we have is that Nasdaq asked all the financial advisors, and 70% of the financial advisors said we want to increase it. Let me see. I think I have it here. I thought that was really a high percentage. This is it here. The majority of the financial advisors want to increase the exposure of Bitcoin. So it's 70% want to invest more heavily into the ecosystem. So that's 72%. And they said, hey, they have now 4%, and they want to increase it to 10%. So I thought that was already it already went up. People who basically had professionals who had it went already up from 9 to 15%, and it will go up much more. So I thought that was also quite a positive news. But you will see that the professional advisors they cannot take it, especially if the institutional developers they need a good legislation. The family offices are now getting in because they can do whatever they want, but the institutional investors they need more supporting mechanisms from the law before they can get in. And when can we expect that, Idam?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know there's a lot of, I know you and I are listening to a lot of podcasts with a lot of senators and parliament members who are talking about that. The fact that Biden is given the green light with the executive order, that's a very good beginning. We see that Janet Yellen is becoming very bullish, and she gave last week, I heard her giving a lecture about what blockchain and Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto. So that's great. So that's a good beginning, and there's a lot of bipartisan initiative right now in the Senate and in the Congress to start regulating. So they're working on it. The legislation will come within a year or two. And in the meanwhile, as you said, there's a lot of people are standing just behind the lines, waiting to the legislation in the US, but also in Europe, right? In 2024, we'll have MiCA, and a lot of investors are waiting for the MiCA to step in. And we are before, we are ahead, so that gives us that gives us a great position.
But we are. The goal of diamondpigs is to provide smart strategies for crypto investors without basically having to spend a lot of time, and we want to do that also for institutional investors. But they will enter the market around 2024 when MiCA allows them. But the family offices will come earlier. Okay, let's talk about some more positive or some more perspective. This is of course Plan B. And I always love these. These graphs that you can see that if you look at the long term, everything goes in waves, and it gets these are logarithmic scale. So, for example, this little thing here was 50% going 50% down, and but in the end, you basically see really that this is a flatline period, but we've had many of those periods before. What do you think of this Plan B prediction, Idam?
I like those things just as a perspective. It puts us all in a perspective. Since 2001, we're in uptrend, That's something that's still intact. We're definitely not in a bear market according to this graph, and the uptrade trend continues, and that's what it says here. And you know, let's look at those kind of charts from time to time, not too much, but just to put us in the right perspective.
Okay.
Not too much to say about that.
Okay. Then, okay. I always love it how you always have positive news. So Circle raises 400 million as BlackRock explores USDC. Tell me a little bit about USDC and tell me a little bit about BlackRock.
Okay, so USDC is another stablecoin. We talked a lot about the UST that backed by Terra, and we know the USDD, this USDT, and stablecoins are big, are huge. They are the last couple of months they are in the news, also because the regulators are looking into it, and Circle is number 2. It has partnership with Coinbase among others, and they now raise $400 million with BlackRock. BlackRock is together with Fidelity and BlackRock together has raised 400 million. And this is interesting because those are giants. BlackRock and Fidelity are the biggest hedge funds in the US, and those guys are stepping in the crypto and in the stablecoin. So, and again, another very bullish news on what we see.
Yeah. Yeah, it means that the biggest investors in the world are really interested into crypto and specifically stablecoin, but that they start to do that, you know, and it's 400 million for them. They have like tens of trillions of dollars. So this is just a teeny beeny, just getting there. They're getting their toe into the water, but that really is very. If this is very positive.
But for me, the most important thing is, Vincent, is that if those guys are getting in and they have a lot of lobbying, they are lobbying a lot in the Senate and the Congress. And if those guys are getting in and can support the stablecoin movement, then it's going to be much more difficult to go against that in the Congress and the Senate. And that's very good news. So the big guys are stepping into stablecoin. That means that also the stablecoin probably will be regulated, and we will be able to in the US to consider that as really pegged for the US, etc.
I think it's scary that you say it's really important that these big investors are getting into the crypto world so that they can lobby Congress more. I mean, how cynical! I mean. That you don't want, life, right? you don't want life to be like that. But in America, you know, big money seems to own everything. So I guess this is positive news, but I think it's really negative news. Now, talk about stablecoin. You know, one of the biggest stablecoin, which was backed by Luna, was really in the news that people said, "Hey, do they have enough? Is a stablecoin?" Is it backed enough by real things? And there was doubt about it. There were a lot of articles about that. And I know that you love Luna, and you love the stablecoin. Can you tell me a little bit about your perspective?
Yeah, well, you know, love. I appreciate the way they do that, because it's the first stablecoin that uses decentralized way to back the currency. But they also realized that it's not enough, and since a couple of months they started buying Bitcoin, and they ended up with 1.75 Bitcoin as a reserve currency, and it's the first time that
billions of dollars of crypto, billions of dollars of Bitcoin, yeah.
So they kept on buying every week. They kept on buying another 100 million or 200 million or 300 million in Bitcoin. And now they have in total 1.75 billion in BTC. And that's actually the first time that BTC is recognized or is used as a reserve currency. I think that's very interesting. And the other thing is that they try to do is that they said, okay, now we're done with Bitcoin. Now we'll go and purchase other cryptocurrencies to back our stablecoin, and they were announcing that they're going to start doing with Avalanche. And Avalanche is just a competitor to Ethereum, And that didn't work well. And well, it worked well maybe, but the investors didn't like it. So while a few weeks ago the price of Luna was $120, it went down to 80 right now, $81. So people don't like it. They think, well, Bitcoin, okay, we understand why you consider that as a reserve currency. No inflation, and decentralized and very strong in a lot of it's a very strong currency. But Avalanche, no. Avalanche, we don't want you to do that, and that's the feedback they got, and you see a huge decrease in the price.
Yeah. So how was that for your investment strategy, Idam? Because you were investing in Luna.
Yeah, and we at some stage we stepped out. The algorithm told us to step out, so we stepped out. We'll stepped in at some stage because I still think it's a very big project and can be maybe the biggest project in the whole crypto ecosystem, and that's okay. But as a trader, sometimes you need to know to step out and to step in the right time. So it's okay.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. Let's talk about the biggest next to Bitcoin, and that's Ethereum. And we discussed that a couple of weeks ago about that Ethereum was going to proof of stake instead of proof of work. And we said, well, if they're really going to do it, it means a very positive. It's very positive for Ethereum. It will mean that they've got a much more central location from number 2. But we also saw that they are, this is a tweet from one of the developers, and says, well, June, proof of work, it won't, proof of stake, it won't work. But it's likely a couple of months later. So they're already slipping. They say we're in the final chapter of POW, and of course it doesn't matter, but they've been already postponing it lots of times, huh?
Yeah. It maybe was expected. I was hoping that's not going to be the case, and they would really move in June. Funny thing, it hasn't done anything to the price. So Ethereum stayed as it was after this announcement. So I guess it's already incalculated in the price. And I believe they're in the final chapter of a proof of work, and they will move to proof of stake fully somewhere this year. But unfortunately, there's another delay.
Can you show us how big it is at the moment? I mean, I love this. I love this website, this DeFi Llama, and there you can see how big are the different chains. The L1 here, see Ethereum. It's 116 million. It used to just be everything, and it's now going down to about 54%, 55%. And the next one is Terra, 26. So that's that. So even though Terra went down, it's still 26%, 26 billion and 12%. So and
but
Vincent, about
those
30%.
are two things. Yeah, those are two things. Total value locked. So it's how much assets you put in a protocol. So that's how we look here. And total value locked in Ethereum is 1.6. And if you can scroll down a bit, we can look at the other coins. And Terra is number 2 with 26 protocols. And in total, on those 26 protocols, there are 26 billion locked. And mainly because of the Anchor protocol, we talked about it, that offers you 20% interest rate per year. And a lot of people are using that. I told you I'm one of them that have some money on Anchor, also as a test, but also because it's nice to get 20% on your money. And that's to answer the question of the guy who asked that. That's one way to make passive money in crypto, is to put it on those kind of protocols. Of course, you can also stake it and be part of the validation network of layers 1 that using proof of stake. And you can use it in a liquidity pool. You can put your money in liquidity pool, in DeFi. So there are many ways to create passive income. You can also just put it in some wallet that give you interest rate, like Crypto.com and Celsius. And of course, you can invest. You can invest, and you can put part of your money in a funds that trades and or offer indexes, and then from time to time, when the market is good, take some profit. So there's different ways to make money out of crypto. Definitely much more interesting the fiat world right now, the crypto. So if you get a little bit into it and you have a little bit of knowledge and you want to learn a little bit about it, there's many ways to make passive, to make.
Okay, but to answer the questions, there's many things, and you basically came up with 8 different things in 2 minutes. So somebody will just now know that it's possible, but not now know how. The easiest thing is, because this guy probably has a Binance account, he can go to Binance, he can go to a number of coins, and he can stake them, right?
He can stake them, he can save them.
That's about the easy. That's about the easiest thing. You go to your Binance account, you go to which coins can you stake?
You can take a lot. I don't know. I have a lot of stakes, a lot of coins you can stake. A lot of the Binance coin, the BNB and the BUSD stable coin, but you can stake a lot of other coins, and every day they come up with new and a new return. But you know, Vincent, maybe we should do one day. You and I, we should do just one show on all the ways that you can create passive income in crypto, and we'll take some examples from the Luna network and from one of the DeFi network, of its Aave, of Pancake, and we look at those and how you build liquidity pools. And of course, we look into Binance and how you can save and earn money there with staking. And there's a lot of cool stuff to do. I'm happy to take it in a different show. Let's do that. That's good. Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about some positive news I thought was interesting about Ethereum. I mean, everybody knows that if you take Ethereum and Visa is much bigger than Ethereum, right? Visa is huge. You know, that's in the real world, it's huge. And Ethereum is big in the crypto world, but the crypto world is very small, right? I mean, so Visa is much bigger than Ethereum. Is that correct?
No.
No.
It's not. No, it's not correct. I knew that, but maybe you can tell it to other people as well.
Yeah, but weren't you surprised when I told you that? I mean, I looked at 2021. Ethereum moved more money, had more value in transactions than Visa. So they moved 11 trillion, and Visa moved 10.4 trillion. So Ethereum is already bigger than Visa. Now, that is in total value moved. So, and of course, it doesn't matter if you move 10 euro or €1 billion. It really is the same transaction. It has about the same cost. And so, on the whole, the transactions of the Ethereum are much bigger per piece than in Visa. Right. Visa, they're maybe between 0 and 100. That's probably the majority of all the transactions. And Ethereum, it's more like 15 or 20,000. So the amount of transactions is a lot less, but the value is already bigger, which is moved on Ethereum than on Visa. I thought I didn't know that. I was quite surprised about that. So you can always have different things. Okay, then about diamondpigs. What has happened in diamondpigs? I mean, I don't know if everybody knows diamondpigs, but this is diamondpigs TV. We discuss the news and all the new stuff. But we have a fund. We have a different. Our company provides different strategies, but it's not happening in our own wallet. It happens in your wallet. So when you have an account on Binance, you can connect to us, and we basically give you all kinds of different strategies. And the whole goal is, of course, to outperform Bitcoin, like you saw we did here. And sometimes we do it, and sometimes we don't. It depends a little bit on if things go up. We are definitely much more better, but if things go down, it's more difficult. What can you tell about the strategies and what has happened in the last months, Idam?
Well, last month we saw in the beginning that we saw a very good trend up for all our strategies, in fact, including Bitcoin. And as you said, some stage when you see the uptrend starts, the altcoins were very down this year. They started picking up much more. And that's what happened until 3rd or 4th or 5th of April, and then and then someone came up with the protocol of the Fed, and everything was dumped very fast. Since a couple of days we're sideways. There are some. It went down. We saw it we saw Bitcoin went down to 38, 39, and start picking up again, and as well as the altcoins. So we see that there's some recovering, but very little. And so the question, where is it going from here?
Well, we've invested a lot in protection mechanisms. Like we have a sentiment indicator. We basically find out what's happening with the real economy, with the interest rate, and we can put that as a robot in our strategies. We're improving that. I mean, our goal is to have a great combination between people who are really smart about the different coins, and on the other hand, getting in and out at the right moment. We want to do that. I want to automate that as much as possible because it's really hard.
Yeah.
And we're making big steps on that. We're not there yet, but we're definitely in that arena. So I think that is something which is worth. Also, it's interesting. Everybody paid our fees in crypto in BNB with Binance Pay, but we're
BUSD,
also going to
BUSD, no
BUSD. Sorry, BUSD. So there's a stable coin of Bitcoin of Binance, but we're going to also add that people can pay with Ideal and IBAN and that kind of stuff, because that is still people have problems using the Bitcoin and using the crypto and using the stable coin as a payment mechanism, and we want to give people choice, but we also want to motivate them to learn how to use a stable coin and use crypto as a payment mechanism. So that's the news about us. Okay, let's go to we're trying to make it a little bit shorter. Well, we're still 41 minutes. This is one of your highlights. What are we going to look at this?
Yeah, so to me that was the biggest highlights in the Miami Bitcoin 2022 last week. And actually we talked about it a little bit last week, but I didn't think we gave it enough attention to explain it exactly what it means. So I want us to put this 2-3 minutes video, and then we'll talk about that. And then basically what we're going to hear is about creating a different payment network that will replace, or will work in parallel initially, but will replace the Visa and the credit cards network. And let's see how the Lightning network will enable that. The Bitcoin Lightning.
We're going to see a payment in dollars, which is going to arrive at the merchant in dollars, and in between there's Lightning and Bitcoin, and not just by anybody, but this is a very powerful combination, right? Which two companies are going to work together?
Yeah, so we see from Bitcoin to dollars, but it can also be done from dollar to dollars, and it can of course be done from Bitcoin to Bitcoin. All the possibilities are all is possible, but let's watch it. And is starting. Of course, you need the merchants that will. You need merchant that will be able to subscribe to this network, and you need customers that will have the app in order to pay that. So there's a long way to go, but the fact that it's already there, and the biggest POS point of sales around the world is teaming up with Jack Mallers from Strike. This is a huge stepstone. So let's look at it.
And he's showing from Strike. He's showing the integration with, what is the other party?
Just a POS. It can be Shopify or can be any point of sales. It just give an example from Cash App.
He gave them. That's the word I wanted to hear. Shopify. So let's take a quick.
And he uses the Cash App. The Cash App is an app. Okay. No, just to say, the Cash App is an app, the biggest app that's also owned by Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, and that's where you can pay Bitcoin with a QR code. So that's what it shows. You have a Cash App and you want to go to the store and you want to pay in dollars.
Okay, let me make it a little bit low.
What just happened? The transaction, I'll publish this. You can play it back. It's $115.94. Okay, so Warren was the merchant. and Cash App was on the consumer side. And this is shit that has never been possible. First innovation since 1949. Okay? So boom, we initiate the payment. What happened? The Cash App user spent just over 250,000 sats. The Bitcoin hopped on to the superior payment network, the one that's better than the boomer was Americard network. There's only 2 parties involved in this transaction. There were not 3 other intermediaries, only 2. The Bitcoin moved at the speed of light, and then just before it got there, converted to dollars, and Warren got $150, $15.94, and he was mind blown. He was like, yo, it didn't work. I didn't get any Bitcoin. I'm like, no, dude, I know. He's like, how am I going to report this on my audit financials? We're a big company. We sell millions of dollars to close every single launch. That was insane. It just got there right away.
Yeah. So basically, when you want to pay with credit card, you have different intermediaries party, right? You have the merchant bank, you have the customer bank, you have the credit card company, and you have the merchant bank. And they all need to communicate between each other back and forth until you can approve and verify the payment. What the Lightning Network that use the Bitcoin technology does, actually, it allows you to get rid of all those intermediaries and basically in a very, very, very fast move from your wallet directly to the merchant wallet, move the money. And whether it's dollar to dollar, or whether it's Bitcoin to dollar, or whether it's Bitcoin to Bitcoin, or whether it's euro to dollar, it's irrelevant. Everything is possible. And it goes through the Bitcoin network. And if you want to pay in dollars, go through the Bitcoin networks and end up in dollars. And that's amazing. And that's something that they start implementing in the US with many, many, many stores, backed by the biggest point of sales company in the US. So I think it's huge news, and huge for Lightning and huge for crypto. Because the first time we can see that crypto is not being looked as and considered a store of value. It's the first time that it's actually a payment method and currency. And that's what Satoshi wanted in a white paper. It's a digital cash, and that's it, digital cash.
Well, I think if Lightning starts to become big, I mean, we saw that we see that the percentage of transactions which go through Lightning is going up quite a bit. We're going to come to that a little bit later. But then if you can do millions of transactions at very low cost, that will be interesting for Ethereum and for all kinds of other layer ones, because that will give a new chance for Bitcoin. Okay. Let's see how we can move quicker, because we still are spending a lot of time. So this was the merchants. This was saying, hey, merchants can now accept crypto. They can accept. They can use different rails. They can use the Lightning, and big companies are already supporting that. And then we asked, of course, it was interesting to see what Amazon, the new CEO of Amazon, what they thought about it. It was a great interview, and he talked about crypto, NFTs, and he says, well, we eventually will accept crypto, but not at the short term. We over time you'll see crypto and it become possible. It's probably down the road. So that is so not everybody is ready to jump on the bandwagon right now. So I thought that was interesting. And the last one I want to add is our Mrs. Positive is the positive person, the most positive person I know, Kathy Wood. Can you tell me a little bit about her? Who's Kathy Wood?
Kathy Wood is the chairman of ARK Funds, and ARK Funds investing in a lot of tech companies. They're investing heavily on Tesla, for example, the last couple of years. Made a lot of money, lost a lot of money the last couple of months, of course. Making a lot of waves in the venture capital world and in the funds, and she is a big fan of Bitcoin. So let's see what she says about that.
Yeah, and I know her because she was one of the most enthusiastic investors of Tesla. And when Tesla was doing 160, she says, I think it's going to go to 4,000. And I thought, wow, I was very enthusiastic. But indeed, and it's now gone over. It basically was divided up in 5, but it's now 1,000, and it really got to 4,000 or 5,000. So she's really a very positive, enthusiastic person, and it's nice to now talk about what she thought,
where we think
what it is.
To discuss the future of Bitcoin. Take a listen.
It's somewhere between 2026 and 2030 is where we think that $1 million from $40,000. I don't think people believe me when I said it on stage last week at Bitcoin 2022. But I meant it, and many people think, okay, so you're assuming that institutional investors become huge holders of Bitcoin. No, we're not. We're assuming, though, that they will move in gradually, and by the time we hit $1 million plus, they will have a 2.5% exposure to Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
2.5%.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
2.5%. If people will invest, if institutional investors go with 2.5% in Bitcoin, the price will be $1 million. It's very simple because there's not so many Bitcoin, and there's a hell of a lot of money. So this is the positive view of Kathy Wood. You can see the whole interview in the show notes and talk about it. So, Idam, we saw a lot of negative news in the real world. There's war. There's problems with supply chain. But there's a lot of positive news in the crypto world. A lot of people are moving in. A lot of technology making rails being developed for retail payments, all kinds of other things. Visa already doing less money in transfer than Ethereum. Ethereum is moving to proof of stake. There's a lot of positive news. Will it take, what do you think, Q3 or Q4, or will it just depend on what happens in the real world before we can see the way up?
If you want to see really bullish trends, we need to get, again, clarification on what's happening with the inflation and the war, and that will take a while. So we are going sideways, we're going up, we're going a little bit down, and maybe in Q3 we'll start seeing some bullish signs. But that's the beauty of crypto, and that's why I'm in this scene. You never know. You just never know.
You never know. No, we can. Okay. There's a question of Ed here. What do you think of Azero? Do you know Azero?
No,
and,
I don't. I'm happy to look into it, but I'm not familiar with Azero. I'm sorry.
Let's take. Yeah, but if Ed comes with interesting, let's take a look at Azero, where it is. So there's a venture capital company investing in it, but let's first look at how much it is. It's a real small fund. It's less than a billion.
Yeah, I can see that they're trading Get.io. So it's a very small exchange in China that's being in trade. But we can have a look at it. Those coins can be very interesting, and I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy to look into it and see what it is, and analyze it.
It's been going up for a year, so that's nice. It's a nice stable. It's a nice stable coin. The volume is 7 million in the last 24 hours. You say the exchange? What was the exchange?
Gate.io. Gate.io. It's a smaller Chinese exchange.
Yeah. And they have 167 million coins is the circulating supply, and it's $3 a piece. So we have to basically take a look. We have to basically take a look at it, but we don't know it. What is it? It's a privacy enhancing proof of stake public blockchain. So it's its own blockchain with instant finality, enterprise ready, high performance network, a novel directed acyclic graph. So that is a consensus protocol that is very fast. Okay. And they've raised 50 million. So This looks like a new. This looks like a new blockchain, a very fast new blockchain with an interesting team. So I wonder why Ed is bringing it up. But certainly it's on our radar screen. We'll take a look at it and we'll come back to it next week. Ed, how about that? We don't know all the 22,000 coins, but I thought an instant an algorithm with instant results that always interests me. I want to know the quality of the team. I want to know how they use it. It's privacy enhancing, so we'll see what's about it. So next week we'll get back to it. I promise.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Idan. I hope you have a nice. We have a couple of days off, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. And next week, in the end of next week, I'll be going on a vacation. I'm going to Cyprus. I'll be going to Cyprus, the Greek part and the Turkish part. I'm very interested in that. But we'll still be here next. We'll still be here next Friday, and you can answer all the questions. Have a nice time.
Bye, Vincent. Have a good weekend.